Hey y'all, it's Friday, and welcome to Let Tiff Teach You. You know how we do every Friday night right here at 8 on Facebook and on YouTube. So wherever you are tuning in from, hey y'all, how y'all doing? How was your week? I pray that you have had a blessed week and things have gone well for you. And so tonight we're gonna do something hard. Tonight we're gonna do something hard, but we can do hard things, right? Together, we can do hard things. So as people are logging on, are jumping on our live tonight, please say hi. Hit me with a wave. Let me know that you're here. I'm grateful that you guys tune in week after week to watch these videos. So I just want to say a big old thank you to each and every person that is watching. But tonight we're talking about something that you may be familiar with. You may know is happening. You may have no idea at all. But either way, that's all right. That's what we're talking about tonight. And that is food shortages. Food shortages happening here in the U.S. and famine that is on the horizon for many people around the world. And so tonight, we're going to talk through that. I'm going to share with you what's happening, why it's happening, and what you can do to prepare yourself and your family and those you love and care about. So tag somebody, share this video. Let's get the information out to people, because I know a lot of people may not be aware of the current situation with regard to our food production here in the U.S. Please share this with anybody that you know that needs this information. Tag somebody, let them know we're live. As I'm talking, if you do have any questions, please put those in the comments. I'd love to address your questions right here, right now, as I'm going through the information. If you're confused about anything that I'm saying, please drop a question in the comments. Let me know if there's anything that I can review for you or go back over for you to make sure that you understand what is happening, because I do not want anybody left behind. All right, so that's what we're doing tonight. Tonight we're talking about food shortages and how we prepare for famine. So I'll be straight up and super honest with you guys. I have been very reluctant to do a real big deep dive into this topic, primarily just because I don't think people care. I don't think people care. I don't think people want to know. I'm aware of it because I spend a lot of time in a gardening agricultural space. And so I'm reading things and watching things that the average person is not, because they're not into agriculture in that way. And so I've been kind of reluctant to share the realities of what's happening, simply because I don't think people want to know, and I didn't think that people were paying attention. But shout out to the clique. I am really grateful for my friends who have really encouraged me to share this information on this platform so that people are aware. A very good girlfriend of mine said to me this weekend, and this is really where it hit me, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna do it. She said, there are people of color who will not receive it unless it comes from a person of color. So here we are, and we're gonna jump into it tonight. Okay. So let's begin at the beginning. The United States is in a food shortage, and we will continue to be in a food shortage. That's a fact. You can do your own research. I've done all the research, but you can do your own research if you want to. President Biden in the last 2 months has gotten on the news on 3 separate occasions in front of cameras and said that the United States will experience a food shortage. He said it on the White House lawn, he said it at the UN, and he said it in the press room. So when the president gets on television and says we will experience a food shortage, trust and believe it's already worse than you think. By the time it makes it to the mainstream news, it's already worse than you think. And if you haven't been getting prepared, you're late, right? When was the best time to prepare? A year ago. The second best time to prepare is right now. So President Biden has gone on the news and said we are going to experience food shortages. And maybe in your local grocery store, that's not what you see. Shelves are full, produce looks fine, meat cases look fine, but you're seeing some price increases, right? So just because your shelf is full today, that does not guarantee that your shelf will be full tomorrow or next week or next month. And I can guarantee you that they will not, because of a number of things that are happening across the country that are all interconnected. What you have to realize is that we live in a global society. And what that means is our global society is interconnected. Things come from all over the world that we consume. And when things happen in other parts of the world, it affects our ability to receive those goods. So there may or may not be things for you to buy at the store, right? So that is part of, but not the primary reason that we are going to be experiencing these food shortages. So I'm going to speak primarily about things that are happening here in the United States that are affecting our national agricultural economy. But remember that there are things happening around the world that are also impacting our agricultural economy. So the first thing I'm talking about is drought. Drought is the first thing that's happening that's affecting our food and our food economy. So you cannot grow anything without water. And a drought is a lack of water. And if you are unaware, there is a mega drought happening on the western seaboard of North America. So the west coast of America and also the western coast of Canada is in a drought. And parts of that coastline are in what is known as a mega drought. A mega drought is a drought that has gone on for more than 7 years. And this area has been in a drought for over 20 years. There are parts of California, Oregon, Washington State, Nevada, Arizona, Colorado that have been in drought for over 20 years. So what does that mean? So there's two parts to this particular drought. There is the lack of rainfall. So there is no rain falling, or not enough rain falling out of the sky. Okay, that's one. The second thing that's happening is there's not as much snow melt. And so we think about the western coast of the United States, Northern California, Colorado, they're mountains, right? And it snows in those mountains in the wintertime. And so those states depend on the snow falling and then melting, and that melting water running down into rivers and streams and reservoirs. And that's also a source of water for them. But they haven't gotten as much snow in the last several years as they are used to. And so less snow means less snow melt. That means there is less water. So no rainfall and not enough snow over time equals no more water. All right. So there's this drought happening. Then there's also a flash drought happening right now in the Southwest, Texas, Oklahoma, I think a little piece of Louisiana, is in a flash drought. So it kind of ran up on them real fast, and then they ain't getting no rain and things are going bad. And they're hoping that that shifts and that moves soon, but right now that's where they are. So I want to show you guys really quickly our drought map. So this is something that you can find on your own on the internet. This is readily available to anybody that wants to see it. All right, there we go. Now I got it. I had to pull it up, y'all. So this is our current drought map. And so light colors are on the low end, and the darker the colors, the heavier, the more significant, that's what I'm looking for. More significant the drought is. And so you'll notice in California, here in California, in Nevada, Arizona, and then here in Texas, all these really, really super dark reds and oranges, because that's where the drought is most significant. Now, why do you care? Why do you care that California doesn't have any water, right? Well, 2/3 of the produce and 1/3 of the nuts grown in the United States are grown in California. And so if there's no water, they're not growing any food. I need you guys to hear that. If there's no water, they're not growing any food. So that 2/3 of produce is not going to be available because it's not. Hey, Bree, that produce, that 2/3 of our national produce, 1/3 of our national nuts grown in California. If that water is not there to grow that food doesn't get to your grocery store. Okay, I'll give you a very personal example. I'm lactose intolerant. I drink almond milk almost exclusively when it comes to wanting a milk product for something. Well, almonds are grown in California. And if California doesn't have any water, then they're not growing any almonds. I'm not getting any almond milk. Literally none. What am I going to do? Or if there is something there, the price of it is going to be so high, right, that I may not be able to afford it. So that's drought. That's where we are in the drought that's happening on the West Coast and in the Southwest. That's going to affect you. So that's one way, right? The produce isn't going to be grown because there isn't any water to grow it. The second thing that's happening, and this we're going to shift from the West Coast to the Southwest. Hey, Marcus, is affecting cattle. So, everybody knows, Texas cattle ranchers, that's where a great deal of our beef is raised here in the United States. However, they're in a drought. And so what does that mean for beef? Well, if there's no water to grow crops, there's no crops to feed the animals. What you may not know is that the majority of the wheat, corn, and soybeans grown in America is not grown for people. It's grown for animals. It's grown for feed to feed the animals that we then buy and consume. But if there's no produce growing because there's no water, then there's no feed to feed the animals. So what does that mean? That takes us to a massive cattle sell-off that's happening in Texas and Oklahoma right now. So let me share this headline with you guys as it's coming up. So that you can understand what is going on. All right. So this was this week on CNN. They ran this article and they were talking about farmers being forced to sell their cows. So why are all these farmers selling their cows, right? Because they don't have any feed to feed them. And they can't afford to bring that feed in from somewhere else to feed the cows. So the best business idea is for them to just sell the cows early, even though they're not quite as big as they could have been, because they need to get the money, right? So what does that mean for you as a consumer? All right. Here's what that means. That means that right now there's a lot of animals, a lot of cows going to auction to go be processed and become the beef that you buy in your grocery store. That's great for us right now because that means the prices are going to go down. But what that means is in about 3-4 months, there's not going to be much beef to go to the grocery stores, and the prices are going to skyrocket, guys. Beef prices are going to drop. When you see it dropping, you better buy it because that's going to be the best price you're going to get in a long time. Because on the other side of that, availability is going to be very, very slim. And so what does that mean? When supply goes down, demand goes up, prices go up. All right. So I want you guys to understand this. So that is how the drought is affecting and is going to continue to affect our ongoing food availability. All right. So in addition to drought conditions, we've got extreme weather events. So what happened I want to say it was Iowa in the spring. There were these massive storms, these tornadoes. There was this flooding in Kentucky and Missouri just this week. These extreme weather events honestly aren't quite as extreme anymore because they're happening so often. we're hearing about these events so often. But if those events are happening in places where we grow food, we're not growing food in those places. Okay? If there's a tornado in an area in the bread belt, which is, the center of the country, Iowa, Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, there's a massive tornado. All of that land that normally would be planted is not getting planted because people are trying to put their lives back together. If there's a flash flood in an area where we would normally be growing wheat, guess what they're not growing there? Wheat. Because they have to wait for that flood water to recede. So when we have these extreme weather events, that is also affecting our agricultural economy and our ability to produce and have food to go to the grocery store. So now we're gonna talk about crop failure because we got drought, so there's no rain, right? And so what happens? Well, farmers go out and they plant their stuff, but it fails. What does that mean? It means I planted a field of wheat and the wheat didn't grow. That's what a crop failure is. I planted a field full of corn and I didn't get corn. I didn't get full corn cob, right? I planted a field of watermelon and they were tennis balls. That's what a crop failure is. And that is happening in multiple places in the United States right now. I just shared a story about some Black farmers in Texas who shared that they planted corn and watermelon, but because there's no water, there's no rain, nothing's happening. They're literally like, I'm gonna lose 90% of my crop. I'm gonna have to file an insurance claim because I can't sell this. There's nothing here for me to sell. It's just dry grasses. So that is something else that is happening that is going to affect our food supply. Okay, so I know that's all the bad news. I don't want to be all doom and gloom because it's not that. As believers, believers in Jesus Christ, we know that the Lord is always going to give us a word in advance so that we can prepare, so that we can weather the storm, right? And so that is where we are. I do fully believe that this is the warning. So I received the word from the Lord in October 2020 with regard to stocking up and getting ready. And I had no idea what he was talking about because the world looked, other than, the panorama, the world looked fine. But that was what the Lord really impressed upon me over and over again. I was like, fine, bro, fine. I got it. I get it. I'll do what you tell me to do. And I started to grow more in my garden. I saw some things happening in the world, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be a thing. Okay, I see what you're doing. So now we're here, and it's happening. Like, you don't need, honestly, at this point, you don't even need the Holy Ghost. You just need to pay attention, and you will be able to see what's happening. So what can you do, right? So we talked about why it's gonna happen, and what is gonna happen. What can you do to prepare yourself and your family for what's coming and what will be an ongoing shortage? Before I get into what you can do, let me explain to you guys why this is going to be ongoing. So you can't plant food all year round. You just can't because we have seasons. And so if a farmer plants to plant in a particular season and the crop fails, he can't plant that thing again until that season comes back around. So if it was a summer, they were planting in spring to harvest in summer, he can't plant that thing again until next spring, right? So these failures are going to take years to recover. So this is not going to be a short-term situation. This is going to be ongoing, and that is assuming that we get out of this drought, which, to be very honest, I don't see it happening. Regardless of where you land on why the climate is changing, we can all acknowledge that the climate is changing, right? I'm 40 something years old, and I can tell you here in Northeastern Ohio that winter is different from when I was a kid. It's different. It's much milder. There's nowhere near as much snow in Ohio, right, as there was when I was a kid. So the climate is changing. We can all agree on that. It was a back and forth conversation. That's what we do. Um, so the climate is changing. Regardless of what you think about why that's happening, we can agree it's happening. And because it's happening, it's going to continue to affect our ability to grow food. Okay, you got to understand that. It is going to, and this is an ongoing situation. I doubt very seriously that the climate's going to go back to the way it was when I was a kid, right? So we're going to have to make adjustments to this new climate that we live in, all right, and how that affects our food supply. So what can you do? Now to get to the what can you do, because I'm not going to leave you just out here, right? I want to share with you 5 tips to help you make sure you and your family are able to make it through, all right? So the first thing is get informed. Get informed. So what do I mean by get informed? So most people are not paying attention beyond their neighborhood, beyond their community, their local news. Most people are not aware or mindful of things that are going on in our international community. And I told you at the top, we live in a global society. Everything is interconnected. So if it's happening somewhere else, you can bet money it can and probably will happen where you are pretty soon. So you need to be mindful and aware of what's happening in other parts of the country and other parts of the world. Do you know about the floods in China? Do you know about the floods in Germany? Are you aware of the famine that's happening in Madagascar right now and has been going on for 4 years already? Literally, it has not rained in Madagascar, which is a tiny island off the southern coast of Africa, in 4 years. Not one drop of rain in 4 years. They are in a full-blown famine right now. So you've got to get informed about what's happening in other parts of the world, because what's happening in other parts of the world and other parts of our country is going to affect you. So my suggestion to you is to find a reliable, fact-reporting news source, right? So not cable news, all right? You need to go to the source. So if you read the newspaper or you read the newspaper online, you may notice that when you read your local newspaper, for me here in Akron, it's the Akron Beacon Journal. Other newspapers like the Columbus Dispatches around here, the Cleveland Plain Dealer, you'll notice that under, like, there's the headline and then the date, and then it'll say the Associated Press. That means that your local newspaper got the article from the Associated Press. So why not just go to the source? Go read the Associated Press. They have an app, it's free. And you can get, and they cover national and international news. All right. So I highly recommend the Associated Press. I highly recommend PBS NewsHour and the BBC. These are fact reporting, international news sources that have little to no slant. It's like, the easiest way to explain how they tell you the news is like, they tell you the news like a GPS. Turn left, turn right. This happened and that happened and that happened, and then we landed here and they're going to get back to us tomorrow and let us know what's up. Like, that's literally how they tell you the news. So there's little to no opinion. And so I really, I encourage you to check them out. Find the one that flows with you, but definitely get yourself engaged with a fact reporting news source. So that is how you can get informed about what's going on around you. So the next thing that you can do is get local. So what do I mean by get local? So I define local as within 100 miles of my house, because I can get there and get back. Okay. So if I need to source my own food, let's say from a farmer, like I need to find a farm that I can go to and buy things and come home, that's local, right? So you need to figure out who are your local where your farmers markets, your local, your makers, people who make your staple products, if that's a local soap maker, or things of that nature, so that you're not dependent on going to Walmart and Walmart's getting a thing from China and that thing may not show up. Where can you go to get the supplies that you need, right? And if you go to your local farmers market, it's summertime, so there are lots of them, and talk to the vendors, find out where they are, because you may have to go to them at some point and to get the things that you need. So finding out where there are farms and shops, and here's a pro tip. Make sure you are also checking out your local traditional community. So if you have an Amish community within 100 miles of you, a Mennonite community within 100 miles of you, because they make everything. They literally make everything. And pro tip number 2, go to the stores that they buy their stuff from. So if you've never heard of Layman's, that's a store that is a major supplier for traditional communities, and go there to get your things. They make everything. They make towels, they make soap, they make food, they literally make everything. They make pots and pans. So if you have a traditional community near you, get familiar with it. Take the day, go check it out, find out what you can get from them, because that may be somewhere you need to lean as our big box stores and national chain of their availability start to get kind of slim. All right, so local. All right, third, stock up, because today's prices ain't tomorrow's prices. And this is cheap as what it is today is probably as cheap as it's gonna get for a while. So how do you stock up? This is a question I get a lot. I know this piece is probably the piece that stresses people out the most, because they're like, well, I don't have $1,000 to go and buy a da-da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, well, and you don't need $1,000. Because while the best time to do it was a year ago, the second best time is right now. So how do you stock up? So what does stock up mean? Stock up means you need to start building a pantry, a full-blown, fully stocked pantry that you can work out of on a rotating basis for your family size, right? So I can't tell you how many of everything you need, because that is dependent on your family size, but I can tell you where to start. So you want to build a 3-day food supply. You want to build that 3-day to 3 weeks, and then that 3 weeks to 3 months. Those are your easy steps, right? So how do you do that? There's a couple different ways. One way that you can do it is to set aside a specific amount of money every time you go to the grocery store, and that money is to buy things for the pantry only, and they go in the pantry. Okay? So if you're gonna say I'm gonna spend $10 every week on some pantry staples, then note that $10 and that food goes in the pantry, not into your kitchen cabinets where you're constantly eating. It goes into the pantry to stay. That's one way. Another way that you can do it is you just buy one more. You buy one more. You go to the grocery store, you buy a bag of rice, you buy one extra bag of rice. One in the cabinet, one in the pantry. Okay? So that's another way that you can do it. Cut out Chipotle 1 week and spend that money stocking your pantry. And make sure that the things that you're buying are things that your family eats, because what you're going to do is you're going to rotate out of that pantry. So when things are like, yo, that's a little pricey, but we got one in the pantry, I'm going to just use that one. And when it go on sale, then I'll buy another one that's put back in the pantry. And we're going to rotate that way. That makes things very, very easy. I often hear people say, oh, I thought I was going to have to spend No, boo, you don't have to do that. You can do it. Slow and steady wins the race, right? So you want to make sure that you're stocking up on food. Now, if you catch a sale, listen, baby, do what you do. I ain't mad at you, okay? Because I know when I catch a sale, I'm going to buy 3 or 4. Because that when it's on sale, that's a great way to build a pantry, is when things are on sale. But I also know at my local Aldi, I can get 12 cans of just about any canned vegetable for under $6. So, I got $3 in my wallet and $3 in change in my car. There's no reason, because even people on the fixed income can do this. Even if it's just, I bought an extra oatmeal, or an extra bag of rice, or 2 cans of green beans, or 2 cans of greens, 2 cans of fruit cocktail. A little bit goes a long way. And the reality is, you just want to make sure that you have food for you and your family to eat. All right. In addition to that, you want to have water. Water is for emergencies more than anything else, but you just never know. And so I'm always encouraging people to stock bottled water. So you should have at all times, in my opinion, a case of water for one case of water for every person in your house at all times. So I'm a 1, so I should have 1 case of water. If you're a 4, you should have 4. And y'all not drinking out of that. That's in the pantry, right? So you need 4 for the pantry and then whatever else you need for the house to run. All right. So those are a couple strategies. Aldi is definitely for the win. Is it? I have my things that I'm real specific about brand with, you know what I'm saying? Like ranch. When I eat ranch, I only eat Hidden Valley Ranch or house. If your restaurant makes it from scratch, now eat it. But other than that, I need Hidden Valley Ranch. I'm only eating A1 steak sauce because I ain't found an off brand that's right yet. You know, so, but you know, do what you got to do. Listen, do what you got to do. Don't do what I got to do. You do what you got to do to make sure you and your family are straight. Okay? All right. So this one might hurt a few feelings and step on a few toes, but we got to go here, ladies and gentlemen. You got to discipline that diet. So I know a few people who over the last year have felt very strongly that the Lord was leading them and urging them to make changes to their diet. Be that shifting to a more plant-based diet, becoming vegan or vegetarian, or encouraging them to just fast more. And then after the fast, they found that their portions were smaller. But if you are feeling that, if you are experiencing that, let me encourage you it's not random. That is God helping you to prepare for what's coming. All right. So don't fight it, forgive it and move on. I wasn't either. Marcus, bless the name of the Lord. Glory to God. He did not, he pushed me that way. He pushed me in some other ways though, that require me to discipline my diet. But bless the name of the Lord. I'm still gonna have a chicken leg every now and again. But if the Lord is calling you to make some adjustments in your diet, go with it, because it is designed to prepare you for what's coming, so that it's not such a shock when it happens. So story time. Y'all know how we do it. Let Tiff teach you. It's story time. So I used to smoke cigarettes, and I smoked cigarettes for a very long time. And at one point in my life, many years ago, I was trying to get pregnant, and I quit. The doctor was like, "Well, you need to quit smoking." I said, "Yeah, I know, and I'm gonna do it." And he said, "When are you gonna do it?" And I said, "Well, when this pack is over, then that's it." Because I wanted to make sure that I had the opportunity to determine when I had my last. Right? Like, I didn't want to show up at the doctor's office trying to get pregnant and they'd be like, "Congratulations," because now I know I'm pregnant, so now I cannot have another cigarette because I know I'm pregnant. I wanted to be able to make the decision for myself that this was my last one. So in that same vein, if God is pressing you to make the changes, go on and make the change so you can settle, this is my last piece of chicken, or this is my last steak, and you can have it and enjoy it and move on. So if the Lord is moving you in that direction, be encouraged. It is with intention. It is because he loves you and he cares about you, and he wants to make sure that you are able to sustain as we move through this season, because it's going to be a long season. All right. So discipline that diet. All right. Since I'm on your toes, let's just keep it moving. Y'all gonna have to learn how to cook. Some of y'all gonna have to learn how to cook, because as we move through these shortages are going to be, availability is going to be limited. But in addition to limited availability, there's also going to be price increases. So there won't be as much on your shelf, and then what's on your shelf is going to cost more. So you might get priced out. So those processed foods, those quick meals and all of that might end up being more than your budget can sustain. So it's time now, while you got time, to learn how to cook. Go on Pinterest, look on the internet, go on YouTube University. I get great recipes from YouTube all the time. And I will turn that video on my phone and let them give me 3 directions and then pause it, go do them 3 things and come back. You can literally do it step by step with the person doing the video in the recipe. Start finding recipes that you feel comfortable cooking, that you can take your time and learn, so that you have a repertoire built up by the time you need them. Y'all got to learn how to cook food, real food from raw. All right? Because that's what's going to be available. All right. Last but not least, so those were our 5. Let's go over them again. Get informed. You want to get local. You want to stock up on food and water. You want to discipline your diet. And ladies and gentlemen, you got to learn to cook. So last but not least, here's our number 6 extra pro tip. Listen to God. Listen to the voice of the Lord. I want to encourage you as we wrap up here tonight to just listen to the voice of the Lord, because while I truly believe the Lord is giving us this warning as a body, He's given it. He is giving it multiple times. I'm not the only person sounding this alarm. There are multiple people all over the internet telling people we're going into a famine. We're going into a food shortage. You need to get ready. You've got to get prepared. That is a word for the body, right? But in the book of James, James writes that if you want wisdom, go ask God and He'll give it to you freely, and He won't hold it against you that you ask. So I believe that even in this, if you seek the Lord and ask Him, He will give you a specific word for you and your family. He will tell you exactly what you need to do for you and your family to sustain, to maintain and sustain throughout this multi-year food shortage. And whatever He's telling you to do, just do it. Listen, it's gonna seem crazy. Listen, it's gonna seem crazy. It's not gonna make any sense most of the time to what you see with your natural eyes. Okay? It's not logically, you're not gonna be able to figure it out. You have to put your trust in the Lord. You have to believe that God is a loving God, and everything that He is doing in your life, He is doing because He loves you. And if He's giving you an instruction, He's giving you that instruction because He loves you and He wants to take care of you. And that instruction is designed to take care of you. So you got to just do it. Don't worry about it, whether or not it makes sense. Don't tell nobody if you ain't got nobody that believes the way you believe. Just follow His instruction. And I promise you, loved one, I promise you that it will make sense in time. But be willing to be obedient to His word. All right. I think that's all I got for y'all tonight. Let me check these comments. I want to make sure, if you have questions, I want to make sure I didn't miss any questions in the comments. If anybody had anything they wanted to know, but I think I got everything. And I was not coming for you, Marcus. Nobody's coming for you. I know you can cook. Okay, so no questions in the comments. Guys, please share this. Please share this on your platform. If you catch this on a replay, drop the hashtag replay in the comments so I know that you were here. If you have any questions, let me know if this is what you all want to hear about. If you want more information, I will happily keep you informed on how things are going and what direction we're headed in. It's going to be a rocky road for the next period of time. We are strongly headed into a recession here in the United States of America, and food shortages are here and will continue to get worse. But we have a strategy. We have a strategy and a plan given to us by the Lord God, who, in order to keep us, to help us maintain and sustain throughout this season. So, please like if you're watching on YouTube. Thank you so much. I love y'all. Y'all on YouTube, y'all the best. So if you would just drop that like, please share this to anyone that you think needs to hear it. I am eternally grateful that you would spend your time listening to me talk on a Friday night. And so I pray to God that you are receiving something from this that is helping you in your walk and helping you live a more abundant kingdom life. So, with that note, I love you guys. I will see you. I'll be here as always Friday night at 8, and we'll talk some more about something. All right, y'all. Have a good night.